Our world is full of unusual things, and although there are many sources of information, you cannot ignore the fact that seeing is believing. Even though you might have travelled across the globe to see some of the incredible things, rest assured there's plenty of cool stuff out there you've yet to discover. From unusual plants and animals to bizarre natural phenomena, here are the 12 peculiar and yet incredible things you're probably about to see for the first time in your life. Take a peek. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to Boggler, and click the notification bell for more amazing content. Let's begin. It's widely believed that plants and trees too have emotions and can even feel the pain, but surprisingly it doesn't stop there. Meet the trees that actually bleed when they're sliced open, just like humans and animals. Much like the veins in our body, the tree's vascular system transports dark red to brown sap that accumulates on wounds on the trunks. The red liquid pours from chopped down trunks and branches and apparently bleeds like living beings. This apparent bleeding can look distressing, but the good news is this reddish liquid is actually used to coagulate and seal wounds and injuries sustained by the tree. What's more astonishing? That some species of these bleeding trees are native to South Africa, and local tribes believe that the red sap has magical properties. The sap of wild teak trees is suspected to help treat diseases such as malaria and ringworm, as well as sharp pains. Lizards are all cringy and creepy, and worms are all wobbly and unlikable. Now, what if I tell you that a creature exists that has the stubby legs and snout of a lizard and the body of a worm? Terrifying, isn't it? Well, I'm going to terrify you even more because a creature like this actually does exist. A lizard that looks like a worm is literally a reptile found in the woods of Southeast Asia and Mexico, where these creatures don't have ears and they wander off into burrowing and only crawl back into the surface during nighttime. They usually hang around near logs and stones, but the scientists are still yet to fully study this unique creature. Scientists have revealed that they feed on minute insects like termites and ants. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Would you keep this creature as your pet? Let us know in the comments below. Invisible spy cars, camouflaged aliens, cloaked helicarriers, and hard-to-see hobbits have been Hollywood fiction mainstays for decades. But what if we told you science's long struggle is yielding some productive results to replicate the same effect in real life? Recently, a team of researchers have created a cloak that can render a person invisible, just as portrayed in our beloved J.K. Rowling storybooks, in which the young wizard Harry inherited a magical cloak that could make anyone who put it on instantly invisible. Though the world doesn't have an actual Harry Potter-like invisibility cloak quite yet, a Canadian camouflage company, Hyper Stealth Biotechnology, has patented the technology behind a material that bends light to make people and objects near invisible to the naked eye. The material, called Quantum Stealth, is currently still in the prototyping stage, but was developed by the company's CEO Guy Kramer primarily for military purposes, to conceal agents and equipment such as tanks and jets in the field. As well as making objects close to invisible to the naked eye, the material is also being extensively tested for wearable and clothing purposes, so there's a high probability that an invisible cloak may join your wardrobe soon. People have used biotechnology processes such as selectively breeding animals and fermentation for thousands of years, but with each passing day, modern genetic technologies are becoming more exhilarating and terrifying. Though society might overcome diseases by tweaking individual genomes, it may also give rise to superhumans who are optimized for certain characteristics, like intelligence or looks. To add more to our fears, a Chinese scientist, He Jiankui, took genetic engineering to a whole new creepy level when he shocked the medical community last year by claiming he had illegally created the world's first gene-edited babies by employing a powerful technique called CRISPR on a human embryo to edit the genes of twin girls known as Lulu and Nana. Many scientists express concerns about possible unintended side effects of the genetic changes that could be passed down to future generations. Chinese police detained Zhuang Qi as an initial investigation concluded that he used technology which is officially banned in the country, which is why he was sentenced to a 3-year jail term. This time of quarantine is truly a testing one where some people have managed to resist the desire of going outside, but there are other people who've not been so responsible. The method of police checks is working to deal with the people, but the citizens of Kapo village on the island of Java have ideated something better. A group of local people have volunteered to become fake ghosts by wrapping themselves in white sheets in order to scare people away. These volunteers make sure to keep their activity a secret so the passerby becomes scared and eventually stays at home. Did you know some cetaceans use nets to catch their food, like humpback whales? Recently, researchers from the University of Hawaii captured groundbreaking footage of a whale's point of view where they dive down while swimming in a circular pattern and blow bubble nets to capture prey in a vortex of doom. It's one of the most unique and absolutely fascinating things to watch. The team used drone cameras and attached sensors to the whales with suction cups to capture the video and record important data for investigating the causes of a possible decline in the humpback population. In addition to drone footage showing a stunning overhead view of a pair of humpback whales, marine biologists at the university also collected a wealth of data on the fascinating behavior of the animals, on how it employs strange techniques to manipulate their prey before hunting it down. Scientists believe that the findings from this mesmerizing bubble-blowing behavior will provide critical insights on how whales interact with their habitats and climate change accordingly. The idiom "skate on thin ice" usually means danger, stop what you're doing, or else. However, a video posted on the internet shows a freelance photographer, Henrik Trigg, and his friend Martin Ajner skating on a freshly frozen lake outside of Stockholm. To hit the so-called black ice when it has just begun to freeze and is dangerously thin is what defines the ultimate thrill in wild ice skating or Nordic skating. It's the holy grail, says Trigg, and the reward of it is laser-like symphony of sounds created when an ice skater's body weight passes over it without falling through. Wild skating is especially dangerous since the ice can be as thin as 2 inches, and even an experienced skater can have unexpected dips in freezing water. But if you know what you're doing and have the right equipment to do it, you may be able to successfully make some high-pitched, cool sounds while gliding across the clear, black surface of the thin ice. And if you're planning to enjoy some Nordic action this winter, don't forget to carry some additional dry clothes. Flipping the old "it's hot enough to fry an egg on the sidewalk" experiment on its head, one Minnesotan decided to freeze an egg on the sidewalk instead. And why not? It's so cold that eggs are freezing in mid-air. A YouTuber behind the channel Minnesota Cold, which is about exactly what it sounds like, decided to show his audience what happens when you crack an egg in temperatures colder than a polar bear's bottom. When the temperature in Minnesota dropped to a chilling -27 degrees, the host in the video broke 2 eggs. The first one is broken mid-air between 2 stacks of bread, and the second one is broken on a pan, and you can see both times the egg froze in bizarre and unique patterns that were definitely picture-worthy. There's no doubt that anything liquid will freeze in temperatures like this, yet somehow watching the egg freeze is just, well, watch it. It's kind of wonderful. You want one of your own, don't you? It'll look great on your mantelpiece. If your post-quarantine goals involve visiting the mountain village of Sagada in the Philippines, then let me tell you, you should be cautious because you can actually see coffins nailed to the rock, which would give you a pretty eerie feeling. But this is just an ancient tradition which is still followed by the locals, since it's believed that the mountains are a stairway between earth and heavenly worlds, while others believe that it's easy for the dead souls to see their families from above. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Renewable energies are nowadays an integral part of modern architecture design, but it's hard to digest the fact that the earliest known references to windmills date back to 644 AD. A village in northern Iran has still got functional windmills made of clay, straw and wood, and has been turning grindstones to mill grain for flour for an estimated 1,000 years. They were carefully designed and located up the hill overlooking the village, taking advantage of the area's strong winds while protecting it from them at the same time. In fact, the region is so well known for its wind that the name Nash-Tifan is derived from words that mean storm's sting. Asbad is one of the most significant architectural structures of Iran and stands up to 65 feet in height. Each windmill is comprised of 8 chambers and each chamber houses 6 blades. When the wind blows entering the chambers, it's blocked on half of its blades. These blades are then pushed downwards, resulting in the rotation of the windmill. Surprisingly, Panamoni Windmill, which is used nowadays, is also based on the same principle. In 2002, the windmills were recognized as a national heritage site by Iran, unique in that they are one of the few still operational. Designer-cum-artist and chef Chris Godfrey creates a 12-course meal that may sound appetizing, but when it's stuffed into a single tin can, perhaps less so. The all-in-one is the brainchild of chef Chris Godfrey. Though this meal is probably the most decadent zombie apocalypse ration ever conceived, guess what each layer of this gourmet stack really consists of? What it says on the label. And believe it or not, it wasn't an easy process at all. First, Godfrey prepared all the dishes with local, organic and artisanal food, and then he packed it into a can layer by layer. The entire meal, which sounds a bit like something Willy Wonka's ultimate cuisine, well, you'll be surprised to know the motive behind this weird food creation. The all-in-one project of Godfrey's drives to the point of food and the gimmicks that corporations use to get consumers to buy their not-so-healthy products. While humans just vomit the contents of their stomach up the way they came in, a few animals vomit their entire stomach and even sometimes their intestines. Surprisingly, sharks can puke their guts out. Literally. Many different species of shark have been documented regurgitating the indigestible parts of whatever they recently ate. Sometimes the stress response is so severe that a gastric eversion is triggered in the body and sharks actually vomit up their stomachs physically. And what's more gruesome is that they can suck their stomachs back in once the offending contents are ejected. The whole process takes less than a second. Believe it or not, some gluttonous sharks will vomit simply so they can eat more. Great white sharks also exhibit gastric eversion, but theirs is a unique variety that consumes large quantities of sea creatures. There are theories that stomach purging in great whites may help them in cleansing their system of poor quality meat and making room for a better bite. We've seen juicy red apples and fresh green apples, but have you seen a pitch dark black apple? Yes, they absolutely exist. Black diamond is an apple which literally grows in only one place on Earth, in Nyingchi in Tibet. The apple gains its strange colour because of its habitat, where the temperatures in the area during the day and night is very different, and because of the excess exposure of ultraviolet light, the peel of the fruit turns black. These apples are obviously more expensive than the regular ones since they take up about a whopping 8 years to mature into a full fruit. You going to add eating a black apple to your bucket list? Let us know in the comments below. When we said plants that live, were you reminiscing that time when you saw Harry Potter taking the herbology class and pulling out little mandrakes that can make you pass out with their shrieks? Well, when we said plants that live, we meant something of resemblance and not actual plants. We actually meant garden eels in the sea, which sometimes resemble twigs or coral swinging in the bottom of the ocean. These creatures are so astounding that they've adapted to dwell at the bottom of the sea rather than like normal eels that swim around. These eels bury their body in the lower sand and then move up if they want to hunt. They can move their body 360 degrees in order to catch the plankton for a hearty meal. If the current in the sea is strong, their bodies take the shape of a question mark and stand successfully against a current. This adaptation makes the eels stay in the sea where other fish cannot stay, and if they spot danger, they can hide easily. What's the most beautiful language in the world? French? Italian? Or maybe something completely different, like whistled language? Yes, you heard it right. A unique melodic language that uses whistling as a means of communication. For most of us, a whistle seems pretty simple, and it's hard to imagine how you could turn it into an actual language that contains lots of meaning and information. It basically all depends on a change of pitch. Though each whistle dialect is based on a spoken language, still, it could be pretty much impossible for us to decipher what someone whistles to us, even if we knew about the concept behind it. Languages communicated by whistling are relatively rare but are known from around the world, and experts believe that fluent whistlers can understand whistle messages with 90% accuracy. Whistled messages typically consist of stereotyped or otherwise standardized sets of expressions, which often have to be repeated in order to convey messages properly. However, such a language is hard to preserve with their ancient traditions, but surprisingly, this unique way of communication is still in practice in countries like Turkey, France, Mexico, and New Guinea. Just look at the video. Totally surprising, isn't it? This phenomenon was captured on the coast of Newport Beach in California, and turns out that it's not uncommon for this kind of sea creature. So how did a jet of water turn into a rainbow? It's ascertained that the jet released is turned into instant water vapor in the air, and if the sunlight refracts on it in a special way, our eyes see a rainbow effect. So next time you're watching a whale jetting out a splash of water, watch out for the rainbow too. Who knows, you might get lucky and capture this beautiful moment. Every year, 1/3 of Bangladesh experiences the floods of monsoon season, and during this period, thousands of schools are forced to close, and many children miss school days. In 2007, an estimated 1.5 million students, or about 10% of those enrolled in primary schools, were affected by floods. So to resolve the problem, authorities came up with a unique idea of floating schools, which exactly replicates what their name suggests. They are schools floating on water, typically on a boat. So if children are not able to reach the school should reach them by boat. Currently, there are about 23 boats operational, which are about 55 feet long and 11 feet wide, with a main cabin that can fit 30 children. The floating project not only provides maximum flexibility to the rain-affected areas, but they can also reach villagers who, for logistical, social or cultural reasons, could not access a permanent institution. Moreover, as flooding becomes more common around the world due to climate change, we'll probably see more floating buildings soon enough. Now let me ask you a pretty easy question. What is the colour of your heart? Yes, obviously the answer is red. But this didn't stop doctors from conducting a rather eerie experiment where they decided to drain out all the blood from a heart in order to craft a certain framework that can help doctors further with heart transplants. To their surprise, doctors found that the only thing that was keeping the heart red was blood. With zero amount of blood, the muscle of the heart is pure white in colour. That is, the colour of the connective tissue. But did you know that the pig's heart is also white? Now that's shocking too, isn't it? Now, we don't know the colour of your soul, but the colour of your heart without blood is definitely white. It's a popular fact that only God holds the power to turn water into wine. But what if one day you woke up and saw wine running out from the taps in your home? This is what happened to the dwellers in Modena province in Italy. However, this incident was not an act of God, but a mistake done by a local winery. The winery had a leak in its storage where the drink began to flow through the pipes of the water supply system. The government quickly solved the issue, but not all citizens were satisfied by the incident since they couldn't find time to fill all their empty bottles. Number 5. Attack by an octopus. You must have seen an octopus at an aquarium and glared at its weird tentacles and be irked by it. But did you know that it's almost impossible to see an octopus in its natural habitat because these species live deep below in the ocean, where only experienced divers can dive in deep and witness them? So, seeing an octopus attacking a human is something very uncommon, but you're about to see something similar. At first sight, this view is very disturbing, where you might exclaim, "Why aren't people doing anything to save that person?" But when you take a closer look, it's just a very unique and unusual installation at the Undersea Gardens amusement park in Newport, Oregon. The main purpose of the attraction is to make people witness the rare phenomenon. Starling murmurations are one of nature's greatest spectacles, and autumn is the time to witness the stunning aerial display in the skies. These amazing murmurations occur when thousands of the birds flock together, swooping and diving in synchronization against the autumn sky. Luckily, a few murmurations have been caught on video. You can search online for murmuration videos to see for yourself how incredible these large flocks of birds can be. As they fly, the starlings in a murmuration seem to be connected all together. They twist and turn and change direction at a moment's notice, but the million-dollar question is how hundreds or even thousands of birds coordinate such complicated movement while in flight. For years, scientists have wondered about these mysterious murmurations, but with recent technological advancement in cameras and computers, scientists have been surprised to learn that the mystery of the murmurations is a natural phenomenon that hides secrets about the world of biological physics that scientists have yet to still uncover. Weird, but interesting, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button. Do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch up my next video.